have to say that my awareness of the change and the transformation, no matter how much you think you know, because
Nothing.
there's so many pieces
Right.
that are missing. There's so many pieces that are missing, and when they are happening, because you're in it, rather than seeing it from the perspective of someone who foresaw it from a very far distance, it's a very different experience. And again, for me, it's to find my compass and my bearing, because there are moments where I think
Yeah, I
got
feel
it.
the same.
Yeah, there are moments I think I got it.
I feel,
Go ahead.
yeah, I don't know. Sorry, there's a big delay.
It's okay.
Maybe I'm gonna try again.
No.
I'm gonna try again.
It's up to you. I think you're fine.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. But so for me, the thing that's kind of surprising is that it's nothing negative, but it's trying to understand the pieces.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
It's nothing that that was not foresawn. It's nothing that was not part of the channeling or part of the things that we know are happening or are going to happen. But it's to try to make sense of this. It's like it's happening in such a specific way that you get lost in the detail of the specification, and in the meantime, you lose sense of the bigger picture. And you have to pull back and say to yourself, "Wait a minute, no. You're wasting your time trying to understand this." So we have this thing. So two competitive instinct. On the one thing, the cerebral frontal lobe, which is all about explaining, rationalizing, blaming, judging, calculating, controlling, and surviving. As opposed to the opposite, which is more heart-centered, which is to understand, to listen, to surrender, and to comprehend. And the freedom comes in that space. So if you merge the two, the heart and mind coherence, you're able to enter into a different space where you are now allowing for, instead of trying to explain things. And I think this is the reason why a lot of people got caught in this entire conspiracy theory, black holes. It's because everyone was trying to explain and blame. As all you have to do is go into your heart and try to understand and try to ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? Instead of trying to react against or trying to think I can control this, I can move this, and doing all these calculated things that are completely cerebral, and that will take you in different directions. More on the bifurcation rather than the path of the third step, which is about allowing your heart to show you where you're supposed to go. So I'm very aware of this, and I have to say to you that I am also being proven by spirit that there are people out there that have good heart in all different levels. I had multiple experiences the past 2 weeks, a week and a half, I should say, where I am experiencing people with golden hearts, people who are living the truth and in situations and in places you would not think of at all. And they are showing up as people who have good heart, who are able to remain in that heart space, and who are so kind and so much more emotionally intelligent than you would think that they would be. And I'm very shocked about this. I'm not shocked, but pleasantly surprised. That there are people who are much more emotionally intelligent in places of what would consider to be kind of out of the box. You would never think that people in those positions would be, but nonetheless they are, and they are showing and demonstrating the kindness, compassion, and deep emotional intelligence, when they're like, I don't want this person to know I'm doing this because they're going to misinterpret my intentions. I want this to remain silent. I want this to remain between us. And I'm getting this a lot from this whole week. Maybe it's a mirror for me, and it probably is, because everything you're witnessing is a reflection in a mirror for something you're going through. I'm realizing this right now, that it's definitely a mirror. So I'm noticing that there's a lot of people, as I said, that are um, doing good for others, but that are remaining anonymous and that are remaining completely in hiding, and they don't want people to know that they are actively, and I mean spending resources, not only their time and their effort, but financial involvement that I'm privy to in all kinds of ways, and yet they're completely remaining in the background and saying, I don't want to get involved. I don't want the person to know I'm doing all of this. And I'm witnessing just this past week, quite a bit of this. And it's as I said, it's pleasantly surprising for me. It's pleasantly surprising for me to notice that this is happening, and I'm grateful for the experience. And maybe, and again, I'm noticing, and their reasons for doing this is highly emotionally intelligent. It's highly sophisticated. It's connected to the higher virtues. They're doing it out of their heart. It's actually quite surprising. So I wanted to mention this, and I'm also getting privy to quite a bit of inner information, some of which I can't even share on this platform. And we know that our country is in the US is in a precarious situation, given everything else that's happening right now with the swearing of the new president and all the stuff that had happened at the just now at the at the Capitol building, and all of the security and the concerns and how people are moving about, and all of the fear that this is generating, not only for all of us, but more importantly for. I see a lot of people on Facebook, and there's been, I'm just a quick warning. I see a lot of people on Facebook that are circulating a lot of information about, because of the restriction from these private companies about their platform, the fact that they want to hit, although they have not really,
What do you need to?
they have not really, what's the word, monitored nor policed it correctly, except maybe for the past year, they've been a little bit better at it. And a lot of these platforms are restricting and blocking and doing a lot of stuff of recent time. I myself I'm not putting any political position on any of these platforms, so I'm not really affected by it. But this has generated a whole bunch of other people talking, and I see the chatter on Facebook, on Instagram, and in other places, on Twitter, of people who are thinking about jumping to other platforms. There's a few of them out there, but I want you to do your research, okay? Because a lot of these other platforms that people are jumping into are favored by major Arab terrorist organizations, such as ISIS and Al-Qaeda. So you may think that you're living a platform because they're monitoring you and restricting you. Somebody was doing a report today, which I sent to my sister, that actually she jumped, she was, so a friend of us had suggested a Telegram as or Signal or Telegram, I don't remember which one, as one of the platforms to go to. But there was a report that I saw today by a reporter that's doing deep investigation on those platforms. And she was pointing out to the fact that ISIS and Al-Qaeda favors these. This is the platform that they use. Like she said, I went in and I signed up, and I went in immediately on the platform, what was being shown how to make a pipe bomb with all of the details, no restrictions. So I just want you to be aware of this. So do not let fear begin to, because the platforms are restricting certain things, make you jump. For example, I'm seeing this email going out saying that what's the platform? WhatsApp is going to take all your private information and give it to other people. And I see people jumping. Let's go to Instagram. Let's go to Signal. Let's go to Telegram. Do the research about what these platforms are before you download them. okay? I'm just saying, be aware. Do not let it be a knee-jerk reaction to make you do and jump into something. All of a sudden, you find yourself in the completely wrong neighborhood. It's not like you could not remove the app, but be aware that this could be a knee-jerk reaction as opposed to a decision that came from the heart. All right. So the experiences that I've been having, as I said, have been illuminating in multiple ways for me, where I've been asked in my heart to extend my love and my compassion and my understanding to a whole bunch of people who may have been not. Somebody's in the waiting room. Who's in the waiting room? Okay. People who may not have been giving or that I never thought I would have a connection with, and I'm seeing them as now being the people and the individual that I would be giving my attention to. And more to the point, I think this schism that the country is facing right now, I am pleasantly surprised to see that a lot of people are waking up to the fact that, and I'm talking people of all color, to the fact that there was a very, what's the word? I think President-elect Biden was saying that this is not us, this is not us. A lot of people, white people, are saying, no, this is us. This is who we are. We have to stop denying this, and we have to talk about it, and we have to be emotionally intelligent about the conversation. So I'm seeing, I have hope, because the first thing about healing is for you to acknowledge that there is a problem, instead of you blocking that there is nothing wrong. So for healing to happen, you have to first acknowledge that there is an issue. And I'm seeing that a lot of people are facing that fact. And having said this, it is my hope that this whole situation will allow people to evolve and grow, and more importantly, to cherish the freedom that this country may have in a completely different way. I'm not clear how the lending, meaning from the predictions that I have done, this December, how the lending for the predictions are going to happen. Because even when a future is decided, the lending, meaning how harsh or how completely accurate the prediction is, depends on how we, as we're going through the experience, transform, change, and grow. So hope is always there, and there was always the possibility that we will do things slightly differently, and we will react completely differently, and we will grow, and we will become more emotionally intelligent to allow us to evolve and co-create in a completely different way, rather than us being too bullheaded and pull, and because the divisiveness and the bifurcation and the separation is harsh. But I'm seeing a lot of people who are saying, no, I don't want this, I want peace. So I'm encouraged by this. Any comment, any questions about this? All right. So last week, I spent quite a bit of time talking about, we know that the energy of the galactic equator is truth, authenticity, and transparency. And I'm going to talk about, last week I talked about the truth part. This week I'm going to talk about the authenticity in great details. Let's first set it up. So the Milky Way galaxy is a flat spiral galaxy. And it has a thickness of 100 light years across. And above and below it there exists practically no stars, no sun, no planet. And in the pinwheel of this flat galaxy, the thickness of all of the more than 1 trillion planets and 1 billion stars exists. Our solar system, which is in the outer range of this galaxy, rotates around the core of this galaxy, of the Milky Way, in a cycle of 250 million years. And every 31 million years or so, we not only spin around the core, but in the process of spinning, the solar system and the Earth wobbles up or down. And in the process of wobbling up or down, we aligned with the light of the galactic equator. We are about to crest for the 7th time in this galactic year. And this period of cresting, which the galactic equator masters call the Great Harvest, allow planets on Earth, sentient being on a planet, to, at the moment of the cresting, to pass and grow and evolve and into a higher level of consciousness, if they are prepared to do so. And if they are not prepared, they may end up going to places that will allow them to spend more time, another 31 million years, until that opportunity presents itself again. So that's the setup. And that period of time when we crest, they call it the Great Harvest in the galactic core. It's a period in which we have the opportunity to get to reap the reward of the cultivation of our consciousness, if we have tried to do so. We are now living to in a period, because we are about to crest, we are living into a period that, again, same galactic masters have called the quickening. It is a period in which you have to be emotionally intelligent, and you have to be able to move emotionally very fast, because what's happening right now is that what would take several lifetimes to process emotionally, because we're about to reach the light of truth, authenticity, and transparency. And as we begin to, because for the most part, when we're in the middle of the thickness of the Milky Way, there's so much dust, other planets, suns, et cetera, in between us and the galactic equator, the light of the core. We don't see it, we don't know. In fact, scientists who are studying this cannot see it. They have to use special filters, X-rays, ultraviolet, all kinds of other special lens to be able to study and figure out what the actual galactic core looks like. So we are cresting, and we're going to crest only for 3 days. And then after that, we drop back down. But when we're cresting, it's like you're getting to the opening in a dark cave. There's a ceiling that opened up, and there's light, and you're getting closer and closer to the light. So as you're cresting, that light is already accelerating and generating a tremendous amount of change. Thus the disclosure, thus all of the acceleration, thus everybody, as I said last week, trying to find truth and thinking that their truth is the only truth, which is a mistake. But the true understanding is that truth is a progressive thing, and it is also relative to the level of neutrality that you may hold in your heart. Because to the degree that you're not neutral, you will only see one path and one truth. But to the degree that you're open and you surrender and you're allowing for a greater expansion of your heart and yourself, it allows for a tremendous amount of healing to come toward you. It allows for a tremendous amount of opening and understanding, and other pockets of awareness begin to show up for you. So simultaneously, you see not only black and white, but you see all the gray scales that are in between. You begin to see more and perceive more. And that's higher consciousness. That's the sensitivity and the kind of refinement and expansion that higher consciousness brings you. You begin to understand more, to see more, and thus the emotional intelligence that you need to have, what in the channeling they call, you have to have emotional, psychological, and spiritual agility. You have to process things faster because they're going to happen faster. The awareness is going to come faster. To the degree that you're neutral, you're going to become aware over and over again that things are happening faster for you. And thus you have to be able to process. If it's going to take you 10 days to process one emotion, it's too long. You have to do it in a matter of a day or 2 days at the most, and then move on to something else. Because within 2 days, another set of circumstances and events are going to reflect another truth to you that you're going to have to process faster. Okay? So the insight that you have in you, you cannot spend a lot of time. You have to unpack it faster. You have to have that agility to be able to say, okay, I need to do this quicker. I need to do this faster. So these are the steps that one needs to take in order for you to be able to process the changes that are going there. And if you have any doubts on you want a refresher, let me know. I will send you again the emotional intelligence as a way for you to refresh yourself and have the skill set that is needed for you to quickly move with agility through the emotions and the feelings you may have right now. I know that right now in America, for example, a lot of people are mourning a lot of things. And it's not just COVID and death and everything else that's happening. I mean, COVID-19 reached a milestone. I just saw in the news that COVID-19, for example, in the world right now, there are over 2 million people who've died of it. Just saw that a couple of days ago, worldwide, okay? I remember when it was just, a few thousand in China when it just started. This is not even a year. And so it's causing people to deal with death, to deal with the mourning and the grieving of lockdown, the mourning and the grieving of financial losses, the mourning and the grieving that relates to lack of freedom. And it's causing a lot of people to seek companionship or feel lonely, depressed, and even suicidal. So keep in mind that being panicked is not the same thing as being depressed, okay? When you're panicked, it's an over agitation of your mind and your consciousness, when everything scares you and everything sends you into a negative standstill of thinking. Whereas when you're depressed, you can't even pick up your head to lift it off the pillow. You're completely lethargic and completely incapable of moving, and you feel there's no hope and there's no reason for you to live. So they are the kind of like on a seesaw. They're like opposite of each other. One of them, the panic is over agitation. It's fear and flight, and where you're afraid of everything, and you have to run, and you become slightly loony. And I've been in that state. I don't get depressed too often. I get panic, and I get kind of loony where everything scares me, and I'm running around and agitated and all that. The depression is not often for me. So I wanted to explain this as where many of us are experiencing these things maybe for the first time, and you don't know what you're dealing with until somebody points it out and you're like, oh, that was panic. Because the first time it happened to me, I didn't know what the hell was going on with me. Like, why am I feeling this way? What am I feeling? I don't know. I didn't have a point of reference because I never had it before. So if you can identify it and you can know where you are, you will know exactly, hopefully, if you follow the emotional intelligence course, what to do about it, how to handle it, and how to process it. Okay? Now, what was I going to say? Now, it's important for us to also become aware that, as I'm going to be talking today about authenticity, one of the biggest issue that's happening right now for all of us, it's the fact that things in the landscape, emotionally, psychologically, culturally, economically, and politically, is changing so rapidly. And it's like moving through quicksand, and we therefore find it, many of us, complicated to try to find a steady handrail, a steady foundation. In order for that to exist, we should focus first in ourselves, because all of the outside is a mirror, and all of this mirror is trying to tell us that within us there must exist something else that will give us stronger foundation. In the channelings, all the channelings, it's the relationship to your creator or your higher power, however you perceive that to be. So it's that relationship that becomes the key to actually grounding you and holding you in place and giving you because that's the only thing that will not change. If anything, that relationship will grow, will emancipate, and will expand, but it will not ever forsake you. It will not forsake you. It will not let you go. You may think that it let you go, but in most of the time it is because you doubt it. It's not because it actually let you go or it detached from you. It's a way, or it's the way you interpret it to be. When in fact that relationship, from the creator's point of view, it will never forsake you. So so that's the relationship that you have to maintain. That's the first thing. The other thing as well, you have to figure out who you really are. And who we really are is a complicated thing. Because as we grow up as children, very young, we realize very quickly that the environment and the world around us is not supportive of our authentic nature. And therefore we learn very young how to camouflage, hide, and basically restrict that part of us so that the world will not see it. And we instead fabricate personas, false identities, and masks that we wear as a way to create a buffer between us and the outside world. And those masks take many forms. And we try very young, as soon as we begin to learn from the family and begin to watch, by reward and punishment. Okay, good girl, bad boy, don't do this. No, those simple little instructions as you're growing up very quickly indicate to you what the world or the family expects of you. Or you read from them. It's not necessarily overt, but you read from them what you think that they want from you. And to the degree that you do, then you begin to, what's the word? You begin to create a persona or a mask to match, because no one wants to be rejected, ostracized, and be seen as being weird. So if your family wanted to see you, and they kept on referring to you, oh, you're so pretty, you become the pretty one. And you try to do everything possible to remain the pretty one. If they wanted to, you're so smart, you're so intelligent, you become the intelligent and the smart one. Depending on the kind of verbiage that was used around you, you create a persona to match, but it doesn't mean inside of you. In your core, that's truly what your authentic nature is about. Now, this is around the family member, family dynamic. You become, and if you have a large family, it's very complex. Somebody becomes the black sheep, somebody in the family becomes the funny one, somebody becomes the troublemaker, somebody becomes the strong one, somebody becomes the pretty one, etc., etc. Everybody finds a different role, okay, to fit the codependency that exists in the family. Okay, and as this whole things happen, the persona gets created, and that filter and that persona is like it's like watching an actor play a character on stage. It's like Sir Laurence Olivier coming on stage. I remember one time watching Robin Williams and what's his name again? The other great improvisational comedian, Robin Williams, and I can see his face. The two of them can do multiple characters together. And what they did is that they had a box on a table, and there were multiple wigs. And one would grab a wig and start, and they are riffing. They call this on stage riffing. They have no script. They put a hat or a wig on, and then they become a character, and they give the character a voice. And one begins to say something, and then the other one put another wig and become somebody else to respond to the conversation. And they went like this for 30 minutes. It was on stage, it's absolutely brilliant because it's completely unscripted and it's completely spontaneous. These men are genius. Okay? Robin Williams always said that he has undiagnosed Tourette syndrome because he's able to come up with these characters on the fly. He just become them. And Jonathan Winters, that's it. Robin Williams and Jonathan Winters. And the two of them together were going back and forth at each other. It was it's the most incredible piece of theater you'll ever watch because it's so brilliant for them to do this. So now, if we were actors like them and we're wearing these masks, by the way, the Greek actors in the amphitheaters, when they were on stage to become the characters, they would wear a mask. They would take a mask and actually put it on. And the mask became the persona or the character they were playing. So I'm just, the archetypical experience, is reflected, upon what we actually are doing right now. So if you're an actor and you go on stage and you're doing this, then terrific. You become the character, you convince everyone around you by conveying the emotion, and you're so good at it. You make people cry, you make them laugh, you make them feel and understand the motivation and everything else. But inside somewhere, you still exist. You're still aware of who you are. You're authentic to yourself, but you're playing a character. Right? The issue is that when you do something once or twice, play this character a few times, that's fine. But what happens when you do this every day for 40, 50, 60 years, where you begin now to believe that the character is you. Instead of you believing that you are playing a character, you begin now to believe authentically the persona that you're playing is who you are. And this is what happens to most of us. We begin to believe that the persona and the character is us, as opposed to looking at it and saying, I am playing a character. This is not who I am. Okay? So it's important for us to kind of like separate the two and understand that we are not who we think we are in some ways. The character and who you are is not the same thing. And what, again, to make matters worse, it's not one persona that we create. We create a plethora of them. We don't play one role, because when you go to school, you create another persona. When you go to church, any religious activity or light community healing kind of thing, you become somebody else. When you become all love and light. When you are around your friends that you hang out with in the bar, you become somebody else. When you are at work, you become somebody else. And we have all of these multiple characters, very much like Robin Williams and Jonathan Winters, but we are completely, and to most people on earth, moving through their life, if you had a camera on their shoulders and they were moving through life, they're saying and doing everything that they're doing. They are so convinced that they're authentic, and there's a lot of words out there, a lot of people who are posting, a lot of influencers who are talking about their authenticity and how authentic they are and all that. It's completely misunderstood and misused, because when you think that you're being authentic and you keep talking about how authentic you are and you're busting your chest for being authentic, you're not authentic just by saying this, because this is not what authenticity is. And we're going to get into that in a second. But I want to point to the fact that it's not just one character. We're creating multiple of those, and sometimes on the fly. And you can spend the next 7, 8, 9, 10 years, 15 years, and not one instance do you allow your authentic self to show up. Because to you, to the small you, that authentic core of you is so precious and so vulnerable and so fragile that, like a precious treasure, all of us do the same thing. We bury it so deep and so inside, because it is an experience in core vulnerability. We bury it completely. And we create all of these crazy false targets. I have to make more money. I have to move, buy a new car. I have to get a new gadget, electronic gadget. I have to, I have to marry or have this companion. I have to do, we create all of these things that have nothing, absolutely nothing to do with what it is that exists in our core. And this cognitive dissonance is at the root of a lot of the depressions and the panic that a lot of people are feeling. Because no matter what you're saying in narrative, because we're masters of self-deceit, we lie to ourselves all the time. So you're seeing all these people who are influencers who are saying, and they're like community, they're saying all of these things. It's just words. It doesn't, because the one person you cannot lie to is yourself. Okay? You cannot lie to yourself. And more to the point, the lie that we tell ourselves are the most devastating. They are the most crushing, and they are the one that will destroy us the fastest. And they are the one that are causing all kinds of disease that we have because we're inauthentic. We're not allowing ourselves to be true to ourselves. So authenticity becomes important, and it becomes the key to try to open ourselves up into an understanding of ourselves in a completely different way. Thus, when I'm facing, when you begin to realize that there are so many layers to this, there's so many false beliefs and false personalities and masks that we're all wearing. What is authentic? What is not authentic? How do I determine? How do I discover who I am or what I am not? I don't know about you, but I've had that experience before. I am a licensed architect by training, and I remember having that experience about probably more than 10 years ago at my last office job where I worked as an architect, where I was in my office, and literally this voice came to me and said to me, "You're lying. You're a fraud." And it startled me, scared the daylight out of me. I spent 10 years of schooling before I finally got my license. Because after my schooling, undergrad, graduate school, apprenticeship, then qualified to take the license, and then got the license. It took me 10 years. And yet, after all of this, and working at the time for another, I don't know what it was, 15 years in the profession, and all of a sudden I'm beginning to realize, oh my God, I am not being true, because I am a persona in this office. I am not doing truly what my authentic core want me to do. And this is what led me to do what I'm doing now full time. Because it kept on gnawing at my consciousness. It was every few days that voice was, and one day I remember, one day I'm leading, I have all these contractors in this big conference room, all of these people around, we have all the plans laid out, and we're talking about this job, and I'm trying to lead them into pre-construction meeting and all that. And the next thing I know, the voice was so loud, I swore to you, I thought everybody in the room heard it. It startled me. And it had nothing to do with the skill set that my persona as an architect had, but it is a persona. And what I mean by persona, it's not that it's a splinter psyche, meaning that it's so sophisticated that it's like a splinter personality. It has a way of responding. It's intelligent. It's compassionate. It has all of these qualities that will almost make it complete. But it's a splinter. Let's say my core is a tree trunk. It's like somebody taking a hatchet or saw and splinting it and then tilting it to the side. And that becomes one of the persona. And it keeps taking the core, shaving it, and creating all these multiple personas that as I go through my day, whether I am in the office, I am with my family, whether I am with my buddies after work, having dinner, whatever, I am moving from one persona to the next seamlessly, like I am Jonathan Winters and Robin Williams moving to the skit. Yet all of it is being done unconsciously. And who I am in the center, that little splinter of me that really exists, that's authentically me, is not addressed. It's not in the theater. I'm hiding it. I've buried it deep, and I don't want no one to know where it is. And I buried it so deep that I don't even remember where I put it. And that's the sad part. That's the deepest secret that all of us are hiding. Many people who are depressed and suicidal have that issue. This is exactly the core issue. They are so inauthentic to themselves that they can't find it. They don't know where it is. So in order for us to discover where that is, there is some work that needs to be done. I want you to be aware of this and be aware of not only the importance, but it's the deepest and most profound and sacred responsibility that you can have to yourself. Because I'm seeing people all the time, particularly online, who think, you know, they're calling themselves healers or whatever, and then all the time they are, what's the word? They are busy exposing themselves emotionally by saying they are raw and authentic, by revealing at the moment on the fly when they are depressed, when they are going through a hard time emotionally, when they are trying to process their emotion, and they think that's what authenticity is. It's them doing what I call emotional flashing. It's a way for them, and I use the words deliberately, because it's a way for them to get attention. I feel a lot of time, and I usually don't finish reading these postings, because when I see it, it feels very yucky to me, because it's like them vomiting, and there's a lot of F word, there's a lot of cursing, and there's a lot of like rage in this. And they think expressing their rage and their and releasing volcanically the sewage that exists within them, they think that's what it is to be authentic. This is you showing instead that you're completely emotionally unintelligent. When I am in those moments where I have my moment where, let's say I'm depressed or I'm panicked and etc., I don't talk about it. I wait for me to get to the other side of it because when I'm busy processing it and trying to internally figure it out, I'm not thinking about doing a live video or taking pictures and writing about it. I am more thinking about how do I get out of this, because I'm inside this bubble of feelings. How do I find, what are the steps in the emotional intelligence? I'm trying to remember my own teaching so that I can snap out of it. Because I know it's a temporary condition, but I want to move through it with agility. I want to be able to process it fast. I want to be able to quickly pass through it. So when I see people who are doing this, who are moving through this, instead of them trying to say, okay, how do I I'm having a moment. What are the steps? And I told you those steps before. Whether I'm in panic or I'm depressed, I have the first thing for me to realize is to disconnect, detach my identity from my emotional state. So the first thing I need to do is to say, I am acknowledging the fact, okay, I am panicked right now. My head is overworking and I'm afraid of everything. I am in panic. Okay? And the moment I acknowledge this, that's the first step. Second step, this is a state of being that I'm in right now. But it is not my core. It is not my identity. It is a splinter psyche, and I'm disconnecting to it. The moment I do this, I am on my way toward recovery. It's when you identify and you say, I am depressed. I am. The moment you say I am, you claim it. You're in it. And so as the detachment happens, and again, this is why I'm saying these posting are yucky to me and they're emotional flashing, because there is no such steps. This is completely emotionally unintelligent. It's a vomit. It's a sea of like all this kind of thing. And I'm like, I don't want to continue. I feel soiled. I feel yucky. I don't want to deal with any of that stuff. I don't want to see you going through this process of like, and they're claiming this is raw posting and authentically me and all of that. It's a way of, it's narcissism, and it's a way of getting attention. It has nothing to do with this. It's like having a flasher, but instead of showing their private part, they're showing their emotions. So I'm not interested in seeing that, because you know it takes me nowhere. There's no benefit for anyone. If anything, I will lose respect for you. I will lose respect for you. So for me, this idea of being authentically and finding that core. So if you think of the tree trunk and the splinter, there is a thin part of us that's still authentically us, that's in the center somewhere, that we have buried so deeply, and we're busy putting wigs on and becoming this persona or that persona, and playing all of these characters without even thinking for one moment, because Robin Williams and Jonathan Luther know who they are while they're playing this character. They don't become the character completely and believe that's who they actually are in real life. But this is what we're doing. We believe this is who we are. We become the giver. We become the wife or the husband. We become the provider. We become, the funny one. We become, the drunk one. If you hang out with your friend, you become the whatever people want you to. The intelligent one. You become the one that occupies the center of attention. You become, or the mean and the evil one. And there are multiple of these personas. I think in the book, the Four Agreement, the way it was described in there is that it's like it's having a 1,000 voices in your head. All of these voices talking at the same time. So it's to wake up from this and realize that none of them are true and none of them are authentic. Questions, comments? I know that what I'm saying is deeply confrontational, because I know that everyone listening is recognizing themselves in what I'm saying. So if you don't say anything, I understand. It's okay. It's okay. It's all right. What I wanted to add to this is simply this. Your true authentic core is in reality an experience in profound vulnerability. And unless you have that experience, what you're trying to show to the world is not authentic. Because when you discover that part of you that's authentically you, when you go deep and you begin to shine light and you remove all the mask and you're able to manage somehow to get to that core, when you get to it, in almost every instance, you will realize that you looking at this part of you is almost sacrilege. Because the moment you see it, you realize how fragile and how incredibly ephemeral and extinguishable that part of you is. And how easy it would be for people to reject it, ridicule it, and completely trample it. And that to you, at the moment of you realizing it, would destroy you. And thus, you rather hide it even deeper. You rather bury it and create moats, put crocodiles and spikes and castles and bury it so deep that it's impossible for anyone to get to it. Because you fear rejection and you fear ridicule. Why? Because that part of you that's authentically you is a unique expression that no one else in the planet has. No one has it. Yet the entire domestication process to family mirroring and modeling, to how we teach in school, to how we learn from corporate culture, and we et cetera, it's all about us becoming like other people, the modeling from other people, the cookie cutter. Yet the core of who we are is a unique expression. It's a unique vibratory signature that no one else in the entire universe has. And there is tremendous pressure from our peers to become like them, to be popular, to be accepted, to be loved, and to find everybody, to have friendship, to have, the fear is that if I show that unique part of me, there would be complete rejection and I would be alone. And that is too terrifying for any of us to accept. I told you before that for me, when I read Alexandre Dumas, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Le Bossu de Notre Dame, that book destroyed me because I identify completely with Quasimodo, because this is internally, that vulnerable part of me was Quasimodo. This is the way I thought I was going to be judged by the world. That character was me. I felt deformed. I felt weird. I felt, a hump in my back, my eye all crossed and upside. I felt absolutely like Quasimodo. And that part of me, I couldn't let anybody see. This is the core issue that when you're dealing with people And this is why I mean it's such a personal and such a deep work that most people do not have the cojones, the balls, to actually engage in that kind of exploration. Yet that vulnerable part of you, that unique energy signature, that unusual part of you that you think is deformed, is completely twisted and not normal. Like you're so weird and so not normal that everybody would go, ew, and reject you. And the fear of that rejection is what's driving you to bury it and to create the personas. So that fear, that kind of like, that persona, however, no matter how weird you think it is, and how completely vulnerable and incomplete you see it as being, is actually the root seed and the core seed of your divinity. It is actually the very frequency and vibration from which your monad and your God within you will rise. And if you don't express it, if you cannot find, it's interesting, we should be growing up in a universe of courage, because what you need to do is that you have to find the courage to overcome all of the other masks and mirrors, and to allow you to go deep into the expression of this very thing that you're afraid to show. And to the degree that you can express it, to the degree that you can demonstrate it to the world, to the degree that you can let people know that's who you are and what you are. Like this, you will be able to begin to move toward the expression of your divinity, which is the manifestation of your, because the only mission we have when we came down here is to become a unique expression of God. Yet everything we've done so far is hide it by putting masks, layers upon layers upon layers, because of fear, because of the, we're not living in a culture or an environment that cultivate the uniqueness that we have within our core. There are very few places in the world and school system where your uniqueness is cherished and encouraged so that you can express it. And this is where schooling needs to be changed. The church certainly is not doing anything. It's the exact opposite. The church is shaming you and telling you you're guilty, you're a sinner from the get-go. There's something inside of you that's defective just because you're human. So just because of this, you have to find a way to grow and to evolve by going, and I'm going to do a meditation in the end to help us do this, but you have to find a way to get to the core issue that's inside of you and to allow the expression of that vulnerable, extinguishable part of your being. Rather than hide it, you have to find a way first. Again, as I said, it's very counterintuitive, because when you find it, the first instant is that I'm going to bury deep, even deeper, because I don't want people to see this. And part of it, it's because we think the world wants us to be perfect. And this is a huge destroyer of authenticity and light, which is this crazy notion, this completely irrational and disturbed notion that we have to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect. What you have to be is be human. It is through your flaws, it is through your sense of incompleteness, it is through your sense of you being wounded and vulnerable that your divinity will rise. And to the degree that you can accept yourself not as being imperfect and therefore punishable and sinful, but rather you can accept yourself as being incomplete, human, vulnerable, yet in progress and evolving into a higher version of myself. Do you see the difference between the two? On the one hand, I am punishing myself for not being perfect. Mea culpa, mea maxima culpa. I'm whipping myself into, I'm not good enough. On the other hand, what I'm saying, I am human, I am vulnerable, I am flawed, but I am here to grow from the flaw. I am here to evolve because I am the God seed. Instead of looking at yourself as being defective, broken, see the vulnerability as being a unique expression of your divinity. And to the degree that you can accept this, it's a unique expression of my divinity. It's to the degree to which that you can begin to evolve and grow into your true expression of your goodness, your power. And you can grow into your sovereignty as an expression of the divine. So when you are challenged by the awareness finally of that call, when you are rather presented with the opportunity of exploring what that vulnerability is, my recommendation to you is to immediately begin to allow yourself to express it. Find the courage to express it to one person that you love. Not go on mass media and expose yourself. You will probably will not be able to do it. But if you can find one person that you love and you can sit down with them and tell them, this is who I am. This is how I feel. This is truly in my core how I sense and perceive myself to be. And at the moment of expressing this, you may break down and cry while saying it. But make sure it's somebody that you love. What I can say to you is that in the process of sharing this, you may find at moment that the person that's receiving this sharing may at times be completely muted and silent. For me, every time I was expressing my core, because it happened multiple times, every time that part of me showed up, and everybody was silenced, the way you all, I'm asking you for question or comment, and all of you are silent right now. In the past, that would have freaked me out. Because the way I interpreted this in my head as Quasimodo, they're judging me, they're rejecting me. I am so twisted and so unlovable that they are rejecting me. Because the fear why we have, why we don't show that part of us, is because we think we're unlovable. That part of us is so twisted that it's unlovable. So as I explore this, as we explore all of this, you have to understand that for me, at least that silent, where people are, and it took me a while. It was not till 2015 that I actually discovered through an experience I had in Los Angeles that actually that silence was not people judging me and rejecting me. And because I interpret the silence as them looking, and they're looking at me with their eyes like deers in a headlight, I thought they were judging me. I felt even more vulnerable. I felt, and it was just the exact opposite. They were processing, because what I was saying was so true and so intimate, personal, and confrontational that they were stunned. Because here is what happened when you actually express that vulnerability. When you finally allow it to come out and you express it to someone. When they are muted, it's not because they are rejecting you. It's because you're reminding them that what they typically express to the world is also a mask and a persona. And you're reminding them in their core, there also exists an equally unique manifestation of God that they have yet to express. And you're reminding them that it is their sacred duty to express it to the world. I know this because I've been in your shoes, and I know that's exactly what you're thinking of right now. You have to find a way to talk to one person that you love and say this and express it. And the moment you find it, and once the conversation finishes, what I have found to be true, initially the silence was so deafening to me, I ran away immediately, running away thinking I'm being rejected and thinking I'm Quasimodo, crying and woo, 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 pull me. I never actually stood until that moment 5 years ago when I stood, even though tears were running down my face, I stood there like a man, and I'm like, I'm going to stay there until somebody says something. What happened? This one woman, Nicole, ran to me and gave me a big hug and said, thank you, this profoundly affected. It was the exact opposite of what I expected was going to happen. The exact opposite. And then everybody else ran and almost giving me a group hug. Instead of being rejected, I gave them permission to look within themselves. Therefore, your vulnerability is not a weakness. It is a superpower. And to the level that you can go deep within you, allowing you to begin to explore what that feels like to you. And if you can go to the process of what I'm talking about, which is to find one person to express this to, it will give you the courage to maybe express it to two people at some point. And who knows, a small group. The recent posting that I put online about the seizure of the Capitol building. When I wrote this, it took me 3 hours to post it. Because it was so much my core and so intimate to me, I felt like I was going to be attacked and rejected. I felt like all the eyes in the world were going to judge me, were going to completely attack me. Yet I posted it. There was one comment that was passive aggressive, but not really judging. I mean, not really attacking, but one passive aggressive comment. Everybody else was in support of it. I remember one time in a business kind of venture, somebody had asked me to speak. And there were almost 900, almost 1,000 people on the live. And I spoke from my authentic core. And I expressed what I needed to express. I said what I needed to be said. People were asking questions. They were doing all kinds of things. But literally, after this was done, I felt so vulnerable. It was 9 p.m. I shut off the computer. I shut off everything. I crawled into bed. I got my blanket and I went in a fetal position because I felt, it wasn't true, but this is the way I felt emotionally. I had never exposed myself to that many people at one shot. And I was so open and so vulnerable the way I'm being right now with you. And that I felt literally there were 1,000 eyes that were judging me. And I crawled into bed and I pulled the covers and I was in pain. Like I had daggers and arrows inside of my body. I shut off my phone. The next day, Marjorie was on the call. She said, Pierre, did you read the comments? Did you see what people are saying about you? Did you? It was the exact opposite reaction. Your vulnerability is not a weakness. It's a superpower. And to the degree that you can accept this and you can allow yourself to explore this, it's the degree that you will begin to express it more and more and give yourself the opportunity to help liberate others, express your unique frequency and vibration of the divine. And if while you're presenting, when you're about to present something or after you present something, when you're sharing with others, if you get to a point where you're not vulnerable at all, secret, it's a mask. You're not being authentic. Because if you are being authentic, at some point during what you're doing, you're going to feel vulnerable. I have to say to you that I do live channeling during resac or presentation or workshop and everything else. I allow the channeling to be recorded, audio recorded. But till today, I feel so vulnerable. I allowed it to be recorded only once. And when I watched the video back, I felt so vulnerable and so weird and so bizarre that I will not allow anyone to video record me anymore. Because my facial expression changes, all kinds of things happen. And to my mind that wants to be perfect, it's so weird and so bizarre that I will not allow anybody to video it. And it caused me to be extremely vulnerable. Any questions or any comments? You all stand. Apologies, but not apologies for this. Any question? I'm going to repeat it again. Any comments? All right, let's take a 5-minute break. And on the back end of this, we'll do a closing meditation. Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Allow your head and your heart to sync with each other and let the neuron network in your head and in your heart match. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. As you are now, your entire consciousness is centered in your heart space. And you begin now to perceive 360 degrees. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Listen. Listen as if your entire body, soul, and consciousness had ears. Become aware of all of the false personalities, masks, and personas that may exist in that space. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And without judgments, move any false accesses and false personalities behind you. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And allow any false personality modules, masks, or false accesses to move behind you. Just simply move them one by one behind you. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And place all of the illusions, delusions in mass behind you. Now find your authentic nature. Your authentic core and nature is your unique vibratory signature. It is the vulnerable, breakable, and extinguishable part of you. Find that precious and unique jewel that exists in your core. Find this forbidden, buried, and most precious part of yourself. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let this unique manifestation of the divine become the grounding rod for the demonstration of this authentic and unique expression of God that you possess. Without fears, broadcast this vulnerability from you. Let it radiate out from your core and extend to your circle of influence. As far as it can. Let your light shine. And become aware that this light, this radiation, this broadcast extend 360 degrees from you. Half of which is grounded below your feet. Understand that this unique vibrational signature is the right key, the master key that is now locking into the very prana seed of the earth and Gaia. And when the cylinder, the tumbler opens up, Sophia will awaken. And from the core of the earth, the great mother and creatrix, Sophia, will rise. While Christos, the Christ consciousness, will cascade from the heavens and pass through this unique vibratory signature. And joined her consort, Sophia, in you. Let this become the new covenant. The perfect Amrita of immortality. The rebirth and the rejoining of the two original eons, Sophia and Christos, in us. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive it with gratitude. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes.
Thank you so much, Fia.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you, Pierre.
Oh, you're welcome, Boo. You're welcome. How you been doing?
I'm good.
Good.
I taught last weekend, so I couldn't be here, but
It's okay. Well, anytime. You're always welcome here.
thank you.
Yes. Your family.
Oh, I know that. Long time.
You gotta believe it. Love me long time.
Long time.
How you all doing? Everybody okay? All right. I know I've given you a lot. Okay. I know the last class, which was on truth, and this one, all like, you know, it's confrontational in a good way. It's giving you conversation so that you can ideas and concept that you need to go back to explore in greater depth, so that you can really begin to express who you are in this unique way. Because without this uniqueness, Sophia and Christos, which is really Gaia original, before Gaia was created, Gaia was Sophia. And Christos is her partner, her consort in the galactic heavens. And the two of them together must merge in us. And when that happens, we will rise up into a biophoton body and ascension will happen. All right, everyone. Sending you all deep love. I adore everyone of you. Thank you for listening and have a good night.
Love you.
Next
Bye.
week. Bye.